What to do?
Diggs, Aaron Jones for flex. I lean more towards Diggs.
DC.
Do you know what's fire? We have a midday UFC card this weekend. I kind of like those.
Oh yeah, 'cause it's in Paris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are fun. There's some places where they do them and they start like the London one a few months ago.
Yeah, that was
looked
like on
miserable.
American time. Yeah,
It started at like dudes were walking out at like 3 a.m.
They did that in Australia too, in Perth.
That had to have been like the drunkest card
Yeah, I know.
crowd of all time.
Yeah, the
There's
Perth
dudes
one.
there like 3 a.m.
I know.
in
dude, just absolutely
like
asleep
Manchester.
in the stands. Yeah. I'm bringing the news.
Are you switching allegiances to an Orioles fan now?
Me? I mean, yeah, I guess now that the Sox are out of contention,
They just
the Orioles
clinched yesterday, right?
Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go ahead and start getting through these here.
They clinched a playoff spot yesterday, I think.
Dude, why do I feel like? Oh yeah, you're right. They did. Sorry.
They're like, yeah. They like faded heavily in the division, but they're
yeah. I have a World Series bet on them from a while ago. That's like Iga Swiatek to win the Women's French Open, Celtics to win the finals, and then Orioles to win the series.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is rogue.
Yeah, so I'm hoping.
Chuck a little Iga in there.
Yeah, dude, I was chucking so much Iga in it. I got on some tip that she was just like the nastiest tennis player ever during the Women's French Open and was just like throwing her in parlays left and right.
Yeah, I think she's really good on clay.
Yeah.
All right, let's knock these out here.
Cool,
the first squad we have is Foot Be Dying. Trust just traded Drake London and Charbonnet for Gibbs.
That's
wondering
pretty
if
cool.
you should make any moves at wide receiver or tight end.
You're probably just going to have to survive the next 2 weeks plugging someone in there. Hopefully it's not Jordan Whittington. Maybe there's someone on waivers or someone you could start, but it's going to be tough to do. Yeah, you're probably just going to have to survive. I mean, you could start someone else in the flex, I guess, and then move Kirk
I like
up
Michael
potentially.
Wilson
But
a lot.
I think Devontae Smith is probably going to miss this week, just being that the Eagles have a bye week in week 5, so it makes the most sense to give him a rest here and then have 2 weeks to get him back. Same with AJ Brown. So just looking at scheduling and stuff, I feel like you're probably going to have to fill that slot for a couple weeks, but your running back room is elite, obviously. So that's going to give you a pretty high floor in most weeks.
I would just tear off of Hurts here. I think that this Eagles team might just take a nosedive for the next few weeks. So I would sell high on Hurts while I can. Perhaps that's better for his fantasy usage. I really don't know. But yeah, you can build up your receiver. That'd probably be the best spot considering you have Christian Kirk. I think Michael
Can you
Wilson's
sell high now, you think, even?
Yeah, because people still believe Jalen Hurts is a super high
that's true.
fantasy producing asset, so they'll still buy him.
Fair
So
enough.
I would be moving off of him and just trying to bolster up the receiver spots. But outside of that, it's a fine team. Cole Kmet seems to be one of the better tight ends, so we will see how that plays out. You can always try to sell high on Cole Kmet as well, but I don't know how much people would actually buy him for. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I like Michael Wilson as a flex option this week over Christian Kirk. All right, let's see here. Game over, 10-minute PPR. We got Allen, Saquon, Chuba, Amari, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Kincaid, Deontay Johnson. Fun squad.
Chuba's great for your issues at the running back position currently.
Great. Why drop a link in the YouTube chat? Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then you get Jonathan Brooks as well on top of that, which is a massive positive. You got Romo Dunze. In theory, you can always tier higher for your running back, but that's like about it. Maybe like try to tier up like the flex, if anything. But I like your receiving room. I'm not a big Amari guy. I would try to sell off of him after this past week. I just don't think that there's positive days ahead for this Brown squad. I think they're about to completely fall apart. So
trade question here: Joe Mixon and Sun God for Brian Robinson Jr. and Chris Olave.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. All right. Let's see.
No.
All right.
Keep your Sun
Let's see
God.
here. Baker Mayfield, Brees Hall, Bijan, Mike, Rice, Jake, Ayuk. Really strong squad here. There's not going to be anything to be said about this one. You got Joe Mixon on your bench, which is fun. Your bench is beyond stacked, Jay. This is probably like a 4-man league. This is a ridiculous squad. There's not much to be said. All right, let's see here. We got Kyler, Bijan, JT, Deontay, Marv, Goddard, Ayuk, Richardson, Algier, Leggett, Chandler, Amari Cooper, Garrett Wilson. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, your receivers beyond stacked, your running backs beyond stacked. You don't have any trade suggestions for me. Dallas Goedert's potentially like a sell high, but that's if you can figure out like what tight end is actually going to be good for fantasy going forward.
I would trade Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd personally hold him, but that's just me.
But would you rather have him over Garrett the rest of the season or something?
Yeah. I get a guy who's guaranteed like ridiculous usage week in, week out. You don't get that with Garrett Wilson. Like I don't see that with Garrett Wilson at least as much. Like
I just don't know if we can make a judgment right now on what Deontay is going to be the whole rest of the year based on that one game. So I'm just kind of looking at it like that. Like, I mean, Garrett is just an asset that on the bench is tough to have there.
I don't know.
Let's see. Useful somewhere.
Jets play Bills week 17. I don't like that as much. I like this revenge matchup for Dave Canales. Like
they play the Bucks week 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems a lot more fun, a lot more pass heavy. And like when you look at the average, like I don't know what the average team totals realistically is, but I think it's been like 40 or less for the Jets is what they're projecting. Like Vegas already loves this new Panthers offense. Like it's the third highest projected scoring game on the whole entire slate. So either it's an over market reaction or who knows, maybe better days.
Who do they play this week? Arizona?
They play the Bengals.
Oh, yeah, okay. So it's an Andy Dalton, yeah.
So a little Andy Dalton revenge. So we'll see how he does. But I'm a Deontay Johnson truther, so I'll ride and die with him. All right, on the next squad, Lamar Jackson, David Montgomery, Bijan Robinson, Marvin Harrison, DK Metcalf, Mark Andrews, Garrett Wilson. I mean, you just need a different tight end. Hopefully, TJ Hawkinson can be relevant when he gets back out there. Trying to see. Receivers are fine. Running backs are really more than fine. Like, this is a really strong squad. You just need somebody to replace your tight end. Like, and you're chilling. Like, David Montgomery, I think, still is very undervalued by market expectations. Like, he's just not a fun name because everybody wants to think as Gibbs is, like, the dominant one. But he's really just been a freak of nature for fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What defenses do you guys like for this week for defenses? I don't have a lean just yet. I think the Raiders might be the best one, honestly, if you want to be taking a chance on a weird one.
Yeah, but we just played Carolina and it didn't work out so well, so it's just it's a tough one.
Yeah, and there's like
I kind of like the Steelers.
Steelers is smart. If you can get Chiefs somehow, that's really fun.
Yeah.
Chiefs would be ideal.
I mean, the Vikings are just a must start every week now, I think. I mean, they've played two offenses that I think people were generally scared of going into the season, and they put up like double-digit points against both of them. So you have the Vikings. They're pretty matchup proof at this point, it seems, based on how they performed against the Niners and the Texans. Like, they're
Dolphins D is probably on most waivers playing the Titans this week.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people picking up the Jets. Who do the Jets play this week?
The
Jets
Broncos.
play Broncos.
Okay, yeah.
Makes sense. It's a weirder week because there's like all the good options are like rather obvious, like for the most part. Falcons Saints could be sneaky, one of these two.
People are picking up Tennessee a good amount too.
Didn't one of these sides lose a lot of linemen in one of these games? Might happen to both of them, honestly.
Which?
Saints or Falcons, I think. One of them did.
The Falcons did.
Yeah, so Saints could be sneaky. I don't know. Still playing through them. We will see, though. But, yeah, this is going to be a score fest.
Yeah.
But, all right, back to the games. All right, to the squad. But that's the defenses that we're looking at. Jaden Daniels, Kamara, Jacobs, Amon-Ra, Nico, Kincaid, Henry. I just don't like having Derrick Henry. I think he's a sell high. Like, he's just not going to be able to do that each week is my concern. Drop anyone for Darnold. You have 2 super mobile quarterbacks. You don't need a non-mobile quarterback on this squad. It's not super flex.
Are the Cowboys a run defense that we should be targeting more often now? I think Devin Singletary is probably primed for a pretty big week this week.
Yeah,
I guess, yeah. It could be fun. I'm curious to see how that plays out, but
because they look so bad against the run.
Yeah, they're the worst team in the league so far against the run.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who did they play last week again? Ravens. Yeah,
that was the Derrick Henry, Justice Hill show.
That is true. Let's see, week 2. Who is the strength?
It was they lost to the Saints. Kamara had a huge game.
Kamara season.
And then week 1 they beat somebody, but it was
the Browns.
Okay, yeah. I don't
Ford
know.
Have a decent game. He had an okay game.
I think he had a decent game yardage wise, but I don't know if I don't think he scored a touchdown or anything. So I think his
44 yards and a tutty.
I mean, that's not
6 receptions and 25 yards.
Okay, yeah. So
which is very interesting. So yeah, Singletary could be in a great game. Might be a good spot for his receptions specifically.
Yeah, I was at the line that I was actually looking at this morning. Was Singletary over 2.5 receptions is like -120.
Because it's like I feel like if we probably check back on these other ones, we might see.
What does his game log look like receptions wise?
He had 4 the first game, 1 the second game, 4 the third game.
Okay, yeah, I like that a lot then.
I think
especially in a game that you would expect to have a negative game script.
Yeah, I might hammer it right now.
The Cowboys might suck too, so I mean, who knows?
Got to look into it more realistically. But back into this real quick. I like the squad. Like the thing is, like we're at the point of the season where it's like you all have really good squads, likely if you've been following this page. So it's kind of more difficult to sit here and be like, oh, this part sucks. There's just like some pieces I'd prefer to have at the end of the season than not. Like Kamara, honestly, I think could be a very good candidate for a sell right now because they lost their Pro Bowl center for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Like, what is that going to do for the line play? Josh Jacobs is fine. Derrick Henry is just not a guy I think you want. But like outside of that, like I don't really have any like super savant advice. Like I encourage to buy low on maybe like Achon, but that's questionable because it's like, are the Dolphins gonna get any like quality quarterback play back? Because I listened to somebody talk about the Dolphins this morning, and I was like, that's actually a really smart point. You designed this offense entirely around a lefty quarterback, and there's 2 of those in the league.
It's also an offense that's really complicated to run with all the pre-snap motion and everything. So it's a situation that's harder to just walk into and learn. Huntley, I think, is going to have a tough time learning that whole offense in the week and a half or whatever he's been there. Even though he feels like a more exciting play. The one thing I was thinking about is what if they traded for like a Jimmy G or someone that's ran Mike McDaniel's offense in the past with the Niners, obviously. Someone that could learn it quickly, I think it would make sense.
Tannehill.
Dude, get Joe Flacco in.
Tannehill hasn't run his offense, though. I mean, he's like used to playing in Miami, but he's never played for an offense that's running that much pre-snap motion, which is the weird thing to get used to. So I kind of like a Jimmy G trade or something like that.
They just
maybe there's a rogue CJ Beathard sitting at home somewhere.
You just need somebody who can like run the offense Then it's like I have optimism about like what they can do. But it's like if you have Skylar Thompson who won't be playing this week, like you're gonna be like, this is awful.
I'm excited to see what Huntley does this week. I feel like he's definitely at least better suited to run this offense than Skylar Thompson was.
I do think
Skylar Thompson has played there for like 3 years though. Like he at least knows how everything works and like what they're trying to get to. It didn't look good on this weekend, but like Huntley, it's going to have to be a lot of like.
At least he's a pretty similar player profile to Tua.
What I do think kind of becomes very interesting on a side note after this weekend is Carolina wins in theory, they go 2-2, but if the Saints lose, they like this whole division could very well go 2-2 this weekend. I think realistically, Bucks go 3-1. But it does kind of make me curious. It's like, could like Canales, if they win this weekend, like start re-entering the coach of the year conversation because the pivots like he made almost immediately. Like I don't know, it's very interesting.
I don't know.
You're 4 games into the season, but like at the same time, you can make a lot of things.
It's Kevin O'Connell's to lose at this point, but
that it is.
I don't think that's bad shot. Is Rashad White cooked? Potentially. I don't think you're going to be able to trade him now, like you said. Nobody wants him. You're just going to have to hope that the Bucky Irving game was a little overblown and hope that he has a good game, and then you can decide what to do with it then.
I wish there was a defensive coordinator of the year. I'd love to have taken Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be fun.
I would start Stroud, Ites, and Ertz, probably Trevor. I don't think Mark Andrews is like certified a total 0 for the rest of the season, but
I would just go with Ertz right now.
You can't trust the dude that played like
and ran 4
routes
snaps
this weekend. Yeah,
he ran 4 routes. Like I don't understand. I even watching the coaching clip, I still don't fully understand.
But it's not like Likely's playing well either. Like Lamar just didn't really throw the ball that much.
Well, that's kind of my thought as well. I'm like,
which is almost more worrying. Like if Likely was playing well and it seemed like once Andrews is healthy or something, you could plug him into the system, it would be like a much better sign than what we're currently looking at.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just very confused, essentially. It's just been a weird season. Like, I've had a lot of great reads on this season, but, like, I don't get what Baltimore's fully doing anymore.
No.
Like, just not including either of your tight ends. I generally thought it was like, oh, shit. Like, it was like they're going to use a lot more Isaiah Likely, and it was just like people didn't read into that well enough.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they don't do anything now. Like, yeah. Jackson's got some explaining to do for the Ravens. Moving forward, we've got Kyler Murray, Alvin Kamara, Jordan Mason, Jamar Chase, Deontay Johnson, Rashida Rice. Ridiculous receiving core that probably put up over 100 points in itself. Trey McBride, unfortunately injured. Josh Jacobs. Fun squad. I do think I'm going to make Kamara a sell high candidate just because, like, I'm just nerd for the offensive line stuff, and center is big.
What did he put up this week?
He had a quieter stat line, I think.
Yeah. I think their offense in general was quieter, but I think he was all right. But yeah, I agree with selling high on that offense in general, probably.
26 carries for 87 yards. Insanity. I'm surprised they aren't having him as much utilized in the receiving game as much, though. Only 3 receptions. That's kind of surprising.
Yeah. Especially when you're under pressure, which is something that
26
losing the line can help with that a little bit. Like he might be relied on more in the passing game because they have to get the ball out faster.
Jamal Williams had 1 carry to Kamara's 26. That's insane.
Wow.
Talk about a bell cow. Anyways, I would just be trying to move off of him, I guess.
Yeah. Is Kendra going to come off waivers? Or come off the IR?
That's kind of my thought. I think he will, and I do think he's somebody that's going to actually like.
He's eligible to come off after this week.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I'm curious to see how that plays out. Like, I do think they have to get somebody else involved, but only
that's just too many touches for like an older dude.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's going to catch up really quick. But like Mason, I think honestly is a technical buy low because it's like everything I was reading about this Germany thing. The earliest I could find was like week 10 from someone smart. They're like week 10, he could be back.
McCaffrey, week 10?
Yeah, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem good. For sure.
Trying to think outside of that though. What were they were like, I remember somebody was like talking about like Kobe apparently like had the same thing and it was like he never even had the procedure or like had an issue before. So it's like he could generally just come back and be like Superman essentially.
Yeah.
But it does make me wonder, like, what is the technical thing to do with CMC right now? Do you like sell him low, if you will? Because it's like best case scenario, you get him back, week 10, like we're saying here, which is 7 weeks realistically without Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think you get for him though? That's what I was thinking. Like, what do you think you can honestly like trade for him? Like, would you trade CMC for Achon? I feel like that would be like the ideal.
I mean, if I would target Achon, I would not. But
yeah, if you were Achon, like you don't want to get rid of that. But like that's the only one I can think of. It's
low-key closer to like a Devin Singletary or something. I mean, if he's missing 7 more weeks, like I don't know. You're gonna have to find a dude that's like 3-0 with a like mid-tier running back who's like content to fall off a little bit and have CMC for like a playoff push or something. I feel like is the kind of situation you're going to have to find.
Yeah, I guess. Like that's the thing I'm just trying to think of. I'm like, what would you really? Because that's always the hard part. Is like when you're selling off these like high value commodities, like what are you actually like getting in return? And I can't think of a world where you're trading away CMC and getting something even close to value back right now.
Yeah. Someone's asking for your favorite buy low candidate. Good question.
I mean, it's Achane. Like he's the quietest name right now. Garrett Wilson is another great one because in theory he's the next Devonta Adams. But like the thing that's in the back of my mind is like what Grant said.
We don't Devonta Adams.
What if they get real Devonta? Like we generally don't know who the hell Antonio Pierce was talking about. Yeah. Like that's the thing that concerns me with the like Garrett Wilson thing as well. Is like what if that does happen? You know what I mean? Like I highly doubt it, but it's a weird place. Ayuk's fun, but outside of him, who's good for a buy low? Deontay popped, Jamar Chase popped, Rice.
Ayuk is kind of a buy low.
Yeah, that's the only one I can think of.
Tyreek Hill, not a bad buy low in my opinion right now. I've seen him go for like not much.
You can get him for it's the CMC deal. Like it's pennies on the dollar because like there's not going to be any value right now. Yeah. Like I want Tyreek Hill to be a thing, but I can't get him to be a thing. Let's see here. I'm trying to think, like, I don't think there's really any buy lows after this weekend, honestly. I think a lot of people popped. I think Tank Dell's a technical buy low.
Yeah, that's the one.
Maybe T. Higgins, just because it's second week off of injury and, like, people don't want to talk about the usage he had. Scary Terry's weekend to buy was last.
Same with Deontay.
Yeah, same with Deontay.
And Olave, probably.
Lab McConkey.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Yeah, because he was on a really good pace before Herbert got injured.
And he's like the exact profile of a dude that starts slow and then in the last 8 weeks of the game or 8 weeks of the season or whatever is like a top 15, 20 wide receiver or something.
Agreed. Yeah, I would be with you on the Tyreek. It's just like I don't know how they're going to play the quarterback position. That's the only thing is like I generally can't get like a true read because like the logical thing is you find somebody to replace that. But it's like I don't know if someone can come in and actually replace that. And I think that's part of what Mike's been trying to say as well. He's like, well, there's no other lefties, so we're kind of fucked. Yeah. Unless if they want to make a wild move for Michael Penix. Which honestly would be probably one of the most electric in-season things I'd ever see in my life. But I know that's never going to happen. Could you imagine? It's just like an in-season trade has been made to the Miami Dolphins. Michael
Is he the only other lefty in the league?
I think so. I think it's just him and Tua. So it's just like, yeah, I'm very curious to see like how that plays out. I like Mike Williams more than Roschon Johnson. I think a big thing for the Jets this week is just going to be trying to get his confidence up. They're really trying to target him in the red zone. So I think he's going to be a focal point. But yeah, I like the squad. I think selling high in Camaro will be something we emphasize this week. And maybe that's a bad take, but offensive lines move mountains for us. So we typically try to be focused on that if we can. All right, next squad, Richardson, Jacobs, Taylor, Deontay, CD, McBride, Walker. Yeah, you got the good hedge with Walker and Charbonnet. I think that's fine. You're getting good points per week. Yeah, it's just like trying to buy Bijan and JT. I guess Bijan could be like a buy low candidate technically. I just like Bijan for week 17, man. Like I love the spot where you can get a running back against one of the worst run defenses in football. That just seems really strong to me. That's why I was buying a lot of Bucky Irving. Let's see here. Oh, speak of the devil. Yeah, this is another really strong, fun squad. I don't know if I have to adjust my priors on Richardson just yet because I do think he has a chance of being a high fantasy producer, but only time will realistically tell. I wouldn't have ever.
He looks bad.
He looks really bad, though. I will say that. Where's
he will always hit a few big plays a game, but him in like intermediate routes and short routes, he just like throws the ball a million miles an hour, and it just
he's got too much
look
power.
Good at all.
This is my favorite.
There's no touch.
This is my favorite tweet right now. Hero throw rate and turnover worthy rate. Anthony Richardson all the way in the top right.
Yeah,
like, that's just not it. move over Will Levis. Anthony Rich is the new drunk Jameis Winston on steroids. Classic.
Will Levis is something.
Yeah. D-Hop, they want to get him the ball. He's talented. I love Greg Dortch, but he's more of like a fun contrarian play. It's going to be him or Michael Wilson that pops this week. I just can't really tell you which one it is going to be for sure. But we'll figure that out as we kind of become more and more nerdy as the weekend progresses. But yeah, like I think your running back room is really fine. Honestly, I probably would like you can't sell off of Richardson for good value, unfortunately. But this is a fine team. And you're getting Jonathan Brooks back, which looks like he might just be an absolute freak of nature in this offense if it continues its same trajectory. But once again, only time will tell. Are you yelling at me?
Could just be Chuba.
It could just be Chuba season. That it could. Let's see here. Love or Darnold? I'm probably going to lean you towards Darnold. I'm very concerned about Brian Flores' defense. Like, that just doesn't seem to be something to mess with. A Kyren in a first for 2025. I want the Kyren side. Like, am I insane for wanting the first round draft pick and the younger running back who's actually playing?
I think that's a fine take.
In a dynasty here? Like,
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I want the Kyren side because like McCaffrey's also not playing for the next 7 weeks. You got Kyren? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I want to be on the Kyren side here. Yeah, I don't really understand why this person would make this trade in Dynasty.
And the dude that's getting CMC, his team's probably not going to be very good this year, so that pick is going to be even
really
better
valuable. Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't know what the move was here on this guy's part. Yeah. That just seems really poor on him. All right, let's see here. Dak Prescott. I always find Dynasty interesting because you do look at it sometimes. You're like, am I an idiot? Like, am I just misreading this? And I very well could be. But, like,
I don't think you are.
29-year-old running back at the very back. Yeah, okay, we're moving on. Dak Prescott, James Cook, Alvin Kamara. Somebody I've been completely wrong on so far. James Cook's looked awesome. Probably a guy that you should be buying more of. Let's see here. Alvin Kamara, trade high candidate. Yeah, I mean, this squad is rather strong. I would encourage trying to find somebody else with Kamara. Like, do you think you could do Kamara for Achon? Like, I guess that's my kind of thing. Is like, who can you trade for? Like, what do you say is like the equal tier for Achon here? Like, or do you think
probably do that?
Kamara's more.
You could probably do that, depending on the HN owner, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I'd be willing to do that personally. I just prefer to have Achon. I think he's the guy. And maybe that's a terrible take, but
the thing about people that have Achon this year is I feel like every Achon owner was very high on him. Like he wasn't someone that fell down draft boards because there was always somebody in every league that was really high on him. So those people are gonna be harder to pry away from him. Whereas like a Kamara or like I don't know, someone like a.
It was just like he fell to me.
Those are guys that fall there and you take if they drop. But like Achon was a dude that everyone was reaching for based on ADPs because people were really high on him. So it's gonna be harder to pry him away. I feel like
that's fair. Yeah. Overall, this team's fine. But that would be the only theoretical thing is like we do have questions about Kamara now, but that's really about it. Dortch for PPR, Wilson for half PPR. All right. Kyler, Saquon, Kyren, Rice, Shakir, Laporta, Dowdle, Scary, Terry. Yeah, I would just find somebody else over Dowdle realistically for flex this weekend if I could.
Shakir might be the guy.
Shakir is looking more and more to be the dude. Worthy's fun, just terrible game environment. I kind of like Steele. I don't know. Do you like Steele more or Dowdle?
Steele, probably.
Because in theory, they're going to be in run dominant game scripts. Just question mark is like, is Kareem Hunt going to be a thing this weekend? I have no idea.
I like Steele. I mean, he got a ton of touches, and he was very close to finding the end zone. They clearly trust him around the goal line. He just didn't score.
There.
So, yeah.
He's probably the smarter play between the two then. I agree. Look at J-Mo or Michael Wilson to flex this week. Give me the zebra. Xavier.
Who the hell is
That's one of my favorite clips. It's like, what do they call you back home? He's like, zebra. And it's like, what? And it's like, oh, it's like Zebra.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. But like that shit killed me, man. He's just like, what do they call you? That company they call Zebra. I'm like, dude, I'm calling this man the Zebra from now on.
That rocks.
Sandman looking to get another running back, maybe wide receiver. You're iffy with G. Wilson. I like your Wilson a lot. 0-3, but have the fourth most total points in the league, which means deviation will come to you. Sell high in J.K. Dobbins. We've been screaming this for a while. He's just very game script dependent. So if you're in a positive game script, he'll be great. If he's in a negative one, then he's terrible. Do you keep Carson Steele, Charbonnet, or Chuba? I try to keep all of them if I could.
Do you see a team that has Kyler and Marv? Did we just go past that?
Let's check.
Somebody had a trade question. Yeah.
Kyler,
Kyler and
no.
Rice. He said, should
Kyler
I trade Kyler and Rice for Josh and Marvin? I assume that's Josh Allen.
No, you got to keep Kyler and Rice, man. Like Rice is like the boldest, like the one that's the only preseason prediction. That was one of my dark horse candidates. That's looking really good. Is the Rashee Rice one? Like he generally could finish the season as the wide receiver one. Like he is on a really, really good pace right now. So I would not be trading him away. He's looking ridiculous for Mahomes. And Mahomes will not stop feeding him the ball. So
PPR scammer.
I will take that every single day. Let's see here. Shakir over Dell, likely for this week. Toothless, you're insane.
Darnold this week for sure. Jordan Love, first game back, still a little injured or working his way back from it against that defense is a bad idea.
I'd hold on to Godwin. But yeah, I just don't really want Jordan Love first game back against Brian Flores here.
I don't even know if they should start him, but if they do, I would definitely start Darnold in that matchup.
Yeah, let's see. With this squad, though, I mean, it's stacked, man. There's not much to be said about your squad. Like, it's very, very stacked. I would just try to get a better RB2 in theory for this squad. That's going to be a little bit more consistent than J.K. Dobbins. And I think you can tier up rather easily with the billion different pieces you have sitting on your bench here. Yeah, and I don't even know if you need to do that considering you have both Walker and Charbonnet. So, you're kind of having a really strong squad. Not really sure how it's 0-3, but happens, I guess, sometimes. All right. J.K. Dobbins, Jahmyr Gibbs. Is there no quarterback in this league? No, it's kind of.
Wait, hold up. I might have missed it. Give me a second.
I'll get you.
It's Jaden Daniels. Sorry about that.
Okay, so he has mobility. Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, really strong receivers, great tight end. Like probably the best tight end to have for this year, for what it's worth. Like I don't think it's going to get better than this. And also, like looking at matchups, it's like he's probably going to have that spot in week 17, is what I realized very quickly, and wish I drafted more in the offseason.
Who do we play in week 17?
Saints. And we just saw what Dallas Goedert did.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then Brock Bowers should be in a really, really good spot. Gibbs, Dobbins, yeah, we've been talking about moving off of Dobbins. And yeah, I like the running backs and the upside you have. It's just like I'd like to have something more consistent and stronger than J.K. Dobbins, which I think you can achieve with combining these two together realistically. But overall, yeah, I think it's still a really strong squad. Like Bucky Irving and Jonathan Brooks are going to be really good things. Like Bucky Irving, if he is like a hopeful workhorse back for this offense by the end of the year, gets to go against the Carolina Panthers, which we know has one of the worst run defenses in the whole entire league.
Unless Zamir White is playing against them.
Yeah, Dak, Rice, and J.K. I encourage people to go for Gibbs. I'm not Gibbs. Achon, if I can. Let's see here. Bijan, if you can as well, is awesome. But not everybody's willing to part with their first round guys. That's typically how this works. At least the smart people. How do you send your team? You send it to Jackson in the Discord through the
drop that link again.
In which case we just I'll walk you through on how to get it done. But for now, this was our little team review session. Kind of just walk through. The cats are going wild. I've got a debate on what I exactly want to do for this hurricane.
How's it looking outside right
now?
I
forgot about that. Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just it's annoying because it's you can't get a real read of what it's doing this time. So it's do we travel across to go stay over there, or do we just kind of hang out here? And so we're waiting that. Squad above you is offer Joe Mixon and Kelsey for Ayuk, Rashad, and Likely. This one, I think, is what he's referring to. Let's see here. Joe Mixon and Kelsey. No, you don't need Kelsey. That's kind of the thing. Wait, you get Joe Mixon? For Ayuk, Rashad, and Likely.
Nah.
No. You don't like the thing is you have Trey McBride, man. Like you have the tight end one in usage who probably won't play this week for what it's worth, but like you have all the better pieces. Like you really don't need to make any trades with this team if we're being completely honest here, man. Like the pieces I would be looking to move would technically be like Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, but like you don't really even need to do that because you have the hedge of both sides of that. Like this is what I call like a really strong team, just because it's like you have really strong pieces to fill out your receiver spot. Your running backs are solid, and then you can mess around with your flex if need be. Like especially for the 10-man class.
Yeah, you have my favorite tight end.
Yeah, like he's gonna be a freak. With that said, you don't have to be a pain, but who should you trade for Achon? See if they'll go for Kenneth Walker or like Charbonnet or something. Like you always like start low. Like you get like when people get annoyed, it's like you take J.K. Dobbins and you pair him with Rachaad White.
You could give him the stack of both of those too, if it's like an injury thing.
Like you can genuinely like lowball and just like ask away and just be like, all right, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And they'll generally work back and forth with you to see if like, oh, I agree or disagree with this trade being good or bad. You know what I mean? Most people just at least entertain the conversation. So like J.K. Dobbins and like a piece here, like Rachaad White, preferably. Traded Tyreek for DK, win or lose. I'll let Jackson talk about that. Yes, Greasy, you're on. Rely on YouTube doing those right now.
Let me talk about what?
Would you trade for DK?
Yeah,
would I trade for DK?
He traded Tyreek for DK.
Oh, I mean, I think that's a pretty good trade. Like, I don't mind it. I think there's still.
I mean, I would rather have Tyreek, but
yeah, exactly.
It's all the problem is it's like we don't know if the offense is going to come back and be somewhat decent. That's the problem. Like,
sure, but if Tua like comes back in like 2 weeks or something,
yeah. Well, then yeah, if he comes back,
which is not impossible, that's a bad trade. But I mean, I guess you never know. Yeah.
That's the part I think I have in the back of my head is like they put him on IR. They didn't say season ending. They just said IR. And it's like that does make me think that he's probably going to be back around like week 9, 10, I think.
You'll know very quickly whether that was a good trade or bad trade.
Yeah.
Like it'll be obvious.
But you might be able to honestly like come back and buy him even later for cheaper. Like there's a way that works for you just as well. It's just probably not as likely. But we will see. All right, last squad here. And we'll call it for this one. So we got Fields, Kamara, JT, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, Gesicki. I would encourage you to have Eric All on this squad instead of Emmanuel Wilson. I just don't see the need for Wilson. I see why you like the upside for it, but like I think Eric All has a much higher chance of replacing Gesicki than most people think. I like the running back room, but like we discussed, that we think Kamara is a bit of a sell high. Receivers are more than fine. Overall, it's a fine squad. I would just be trying to move off of Kamara with the center injury. I don't think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to that from what I've noticed. Let's see here. What about Derek Carr and Neighbors for Hurts and Mixon? I just don't want to give up Neighbors, man. I just don't want to give up Neighbors. Like I see the interest in Hurts, but if McBride is out, do you run Gesicki? I think he's a fine streaming option, just not the most ideal. I think there's better ones realistically. But yeah, that's all we really got for this one here. Appreciate you guys coming to hang out. We're going to go ahead and put together some content here for you all. Get that out, get some UFC put together, some NFL, etc. And yeah, until next time, appreciate y'all. Talk to you later. And yeah, keep on cooking up.
Peace.
Diggs and Singletary for Walker and Cup. Probably want the Diggs and Singletary side for right now, just because I don't see Walker and Cup. I don't know. I don't really have a good view on Cup coming back from injury healthy, but that's just my 2 cents. All right, on it now. Peace.